Welcome back, everybody, to part two of tonight's broadcast. I don't know how many parts we will end up with. Hopefully not too many, but you'll be relatively familiar, I'm afraid, with the situation here with disconnections. It's Midas just locking up and getting a little bit out of shape there at the end of his lap. I don't know if he's warming the tyres for a new one. I think he might be. Got an out lap for Chums and for Burts at the moment, and it's Midas will attack his next lap. He's in P2 at the moment. We're still waiting for a fast lap to come from Smerts. It doesn't look like one's going to come from Uzi, but just an installation lap, I think, from him to get the tyres under control, given that we won't be eliminating anybody from this particular session. So Smerts just getting himself familiar, getting comfortable. Welcome back, and thank you for rejoining us. I did forget to mention at the start of the previous stream, but of course go back to the FTR homepage, channel page even here in YouTube, and hit refresh after a few minutes. When we do get these lobby disconnections, unfortunately, seems to be something to do with my UK connection over to the South African servers, wherever load shedding happens to be. That's my best guess anyway. We're also sort of expecting someone to join mid or post qualifying, which could also cause the odd problem here or there. There is It's Midas though. He's set a purple middle sector, still very competitive. He's only half a second away from provisional fastest time here in Q1. Not pole, of course. That will come in a in another session time later. But here comes It's Midas then out of the final corner, stretching for the line, and it will be a 1:17.258. Didn't manage to translate that mid-sector time into a faster time for the fastest, and just getting lighting up the car at the end there. Didn't want to scrub these tyres too much. May need to rely on these tyres if there happens to be a problem in the race, but Shakes it is with the fastest time of 1:16.989. Just a couple of minutes left if anybody else feels like running. I think we've got Chums on track, haven't we? Yeah, indeed. So Chums and Midas, the only ones on track. I imagine Midas on his way in. In fact, we're down to 45 seconds of session time before the checkered flag. That's a purple middle sector for Chums, 19.0, just on the very, very limit of an invalidation on the exit turn 12. This was 13. He is suffering understeer, it seems, drifting wide to the outside edge of the corners. Getting a little bit more in control there through the final corner, and Chums registers a quicker time by 0.3, and he goes 1:19.039 into P8. That's about all he can muster. And thanks to Umer, you're watching for your brother, I imagine, at this time. How did yesterday's race go, Umer? I'm afraid I haven't caught up yet, but yeah, drop a note. How are you doing in the big leagues? Are you able to give Madtrav a run for his money at all? Who I know is lightning quick, and the previous Premier Division winner, of course, there for Season 8. This is Season 9 though, the first race of Season 9. We're starting it, of course, off in Hungary. Waiting then to see what Chums decides to do. Everybody else has taken the checker. I don't think Chums is actually running a hot lap here. Let's see as he comes through. Being very low on the throttle. Another Mercedes on track. I think It's Midas might have retired, took the checker, but he's still on track, just calling the car. Looks like that is going to be our session. Umer, well, you've got to be pleased with that one. P3 in the Premier Division debut. Sounds good. Hi to Rabico, Don Rabico there. Long time driver and supporter of South African leagues, of course, and that's how Chums finishes the session. We'll be going straight through to Q2, of course. Shakes the fastest, a 1:16.988, followed by Midas, Arno, Nick in fourth place, got that impressive Haas second row. Then comes Jacques, Pampern, Avalak, Chums, Top Gun, Stoffel, our favourites to finish qualifying in Q3, but Burts, Smerts, and Uzi, these guys will be needing to pick up the pace a little bit. I don't think we got representative times there from Smerts or from Uzi. Perhaps Umer can give us a an insight as to what kind of pace Uzi's able to get out of the car. But Bertz and Smertz Django will be looking for quicker times, no doubt, in the next session. As I said, in case you were late to this second part of tonight's coverage, we may be split into multiple parts. Unfortunately, that is the reality that we have with regard to the South African servers. It seems it's better that the spectator is kicked than anybody else, but unfortunately it does mean we have to split our streams. So if that happens again, please, of course, go back to the channel page, hit reset, and come on up. Ume says Uzi enjoys this track and should be decent. So 13 drivers due to load shedding, of course, taking Q2, the Haas pairing, straight on out there. Mirror images, of course, of one another coming out of the pits, looking like one another's shadow. Hopefully not going to get too close to one another on these preparation laps. Well, there they go, side by side. Let's see if they are going to start this season off with a bit of niggle between the two of them. You'd have to hope not. It's very, very early days to have an issue, but surely just coordinating their runs, need to make sure that they give each other space on track. Because we're not into the real argy-bargy at the end of Q3. The only real objective here for the drivers is to get their setups steady and sorted so that they can qualify in the top 10. We will lose 3 drivers from this session, of course, in about 13.5 minutes time. The checkered flag will fall. So it is Nick Gishen who's first on out there. He was always a strong favourite for a quick time in Division 2 for Season 8, so it'll be well worth watching him to check up on his times. So, as I say, just getting the car warmed up. It's a busy track, very busy in terms of corners. Not much rest for the drivers. It's a little bit like a kind of a Monaco with runoff areas, but it's still a quite narrow, old school, dusty circuit. High downforce requirement, very low average and top speeds. Down we go into turn 1, looking for good exit. Try and straight line this run to turn 2. You can run out quite wide and have quite a late apex, but Nick, about an average middle apex there, classical racing line, and we head on up the hill towards braking just at that black flag box on the top right of your vision. Just a tap on the brakes, drop a gear and get ready for the very slow turn 5, turn 6 and 7. Again, avoid those raised curbs like the plague, and he's running very wide to get a nice straight line through the next few corners here. It's all about the setup of this S's section in the middle of the track. Little downshift, quick upshift again, little short shoot down into turn 12, getting a nice apex again. Nick Gishen very well hooked up here for the session, and Arabico says pole prediction, he's actually picking Smertz Django to be up there between himself and Shakes. Well, the Haas pairing were very, very quick in Q2, in the middle of the Q1, sorry. There goes Nick Gishen, a 1:17.343. I think that beats his previous time, and Arno manages a 1:17.9. Might be a slightly disappointed with that, and there goes Uzi, sticking straight up there into the top on a 16.515. Very nice indeed, just bringing to bear exactly what his brother Ume said in the chat. Chums are in P4, 1:18.001 for him. Won't be too displeased with that lap. Top Gun will be displeased with his because he's invalidated the lap at the moment. Bertz then in the Alfa Romeo. I haven't spent a lot of time watching Bertz at this stage. I will try to balance between giving screen time to drivers at the bottom end. Here comes It's Midas then. Let's see, he goes P6, a 1:18.528. That could just be a preparatory lap. It's some distance away from his fastest lap in Q1. It looks like Bertz and Top Gun both invalidating, so Top Gun is going to try this one. Amir Osman says, can he race a reserve for McLaren? Well, I think you have to register, dude. I haven't seen your name on everything. There you are, in fact, in the chat. But Amir asking if he might reserve. So we've got 3 Osmonds now. Is that right? Wow, amazing stuff. So Amir, he is a Division 3 driver in the McLaren with OP Mark. So looking to get some practice ahead of tomorrow's race, I guess. I can't give you permission, Amir, I'm afraid. And I tend to prefer drivers don't join during qualifying. I get far more issues with connection if they do, but I think we might be expecting one driver to actually do that already. Salzmeister, in fact, I think we were expecting to see. Top Gun has aborted this lap as well, unfortunately for him. So let's switch to league owner and host for the evening. Avalak in the Red Bull. Gone for a very matching Red Bull colour scheme helmet here, I see, from Avalak. 5th gear exit of the turn 9 in the middle of the S's there. And there's Amir has joined us, so he's looking to get into a McLaren seat. Presumably received permission from somebody. Avalak then getting himself into the penultimate corner, turn 13. 14 of course follows. Mid to late apex through there, and Avalak goes P3, 17.867, but there's a big gap for the drivers to slot into ahead of him. He is some distance away from provisional pole, 1.3 seconds at this stage, provisional fastest time I should say. And here is Pampern then in the Ferrari, racing a very appropriately coloured helmet for the 2022 Ferrari. Certainly go with this race suit, won't it? 8.5 minutes to go. Pampern just wrestling with the car a little bit. Seems to be reacting slightly rather than planting the car smoothly. Looks to be getting slightly back under control here. Just a tricky couple of corners we saw that, but picking himself up with a purple sector. And that's just for him though, unfortunately. No indicator of pace on these first laps in each session, but avoid running too much in the pit lane entry as a habit, and to bring the car across as quickly as possible from turn 13. There goes turn 14, a 1:17.396, getting himself up to P3, second row at the moment, just a small amount, less than a tenth ahead of Arno in the Haas. Who else have we got actually running a lap at the moment? Here is Jacques into sector 2, looking a bit slow at this stage. I don't think that one is going to set the world alight. So Shakes coming through to set his first flyer away from the final corner. 16.460 goes straight into the fastest time. Beats Uzi. Nice way to start proceedings for him in the session. Looking clean, looking rather neat and tidy. Just hopping over the curb there is Stoffel, getting into a new team, into Red Bull. As in there says, Shakes is looking good. A 16.4 is a nice time. Uma will be able to tell me, hopefully, what the pole position was in Premier Division yesterday. Stoffel down into third gear for the exit of 13. Fourth gear, 14. DRS open, and that is a 1:18.585 for Stoffel. Obviously not one of his best tracks here. His Top Gun is next, trying to set a valid time. Shake's still on track. A little bit messy over the turn 6. It's a difficult chicane, that chicane of turn 6 and 7. Just tapped the wrong type of raised curb and heading for trouble. Some of these curbs you really can use. These chamfered ones in the middle sector are quite useful, and the flat ones, of course, might as well just be painted on the grass. But the odd curb here and there really can bite around the Hungaroring. Top Gun then for the Aston Martin. Oh wow, that was He had to get out of the throttle completely. He won't take kindly to that one. That lost him a large chunk of time for Top Gun. That could be critical. It puts all the pressure on his final run there. So he won't thank the Mercedes driver Midas for hanging around in the middle of the corner and the final corner. It was a blind entry, of course. Nothing Top Gun could have done about it, but with the driver on an outlap, the onus there was on Midas to watch his mirrors, or at least his track map. Very little by way of excuse for not seeing driver coming towards you on a fast lap. There goes Uzi and Nick Gishin, just clearing the track for the rest of the drivers to set their times. Burtz has managed a decent middle sector. Arno also retiring from this session. Burtz then, nice late apex through turn 13. And that's very kind of you, Brad. Thanks for the compliment. Always nice to hear that I'm appreciated from time to time. Burtz in 10th then manages to scrape himself just over 1/100th of a second into safety. He needs to avoid retiring the car there, and he did manage to wrestle that under control. So Burtz is the cutoff of 1:18.5 at this point, but that is the target time for Midas, Stoffel and for Top Gun to try and settle this one. Top Gun has lost his front wing somehow on his in-lap, so that's not working out particularly well for him, but there'll be time enough to replace it with a new one. Jacques is in the AlphaTauri. His teammate has shown him just how quick that AlphaTauri can go. About 1.5 seconds faster than Jacques has currently posted, and this looks to be just a warm-up or outlap, and he will now, I think, start to attack the racetrack. I think he's on worn tyres possibly for this run. And there's Burn It Down as well. Nice to hear from you, Burn It Down. I imagine, Brad, it's a load shedding issue that leaves you with unable to race tonight. Is that fair enough? Comment, Burn It Down, another one of our top tier drivers. So this tricky chicane next for Jacques. Retirement's coming in just to clear the track for the remaining drivers trying to log their times. Jacques has about 1/2 second clear to qualify for this session. We're hoping that's enough, and none of the 3 drivers below him in the standings currently managed to leapfrog him. Up and away we go then for Jacques, and it's marginally slower than he's been before, so it's about Stoffel, Midas versus Burtz here, really, to make sure that they get through. I suppose if all 3 of them manage to post a 1:17 something, they would be easily into the top 10. Here is Stoffel. Wow, very, very close to invalidation on the exit at turn 4. Turn 5 was a bit of a recovery job. Just wringing the neck of this Red Bull. Down in 12th place at the moment. He will not want, of course, to be eliminated before the final qualifying session in this first race of our hopefully 11 race calendar. There is a purple middle sector for Stoffel. That's very tidy indeed. Let's see if he can manage to carry the pace on, consolidate those gains and get himself into the top 10. Maybe 2 or even 3 bites of the cherry through the final corner and across the line. It's a 1:18.547. Lost time in that final sector, and the first sector wasn't great, so Stoffel will, I would have thought, by the state of charge and the state of his tyres, I would have thought he will be eliminated. What about Midas then? Runs wide, feathers the throttle to avoid invalidation through turn 4. Looks like turn 4 becoming quite difficult for the drivers. I wonder if that's the direction of a tailwind or a gusted wind across that corner for them. Midas, it's difficult to tell through this section sometimes whether the drivers are really pushing through here because the revs are so low. Looks like he is continuing, but offline slightly on the exit. That might have affected his pace down into turn 12, but turn 11 was all out of shape. Still got himself a purple middle sector. Midas P11, 1:18.528, his fastest time. He just needs to improve by just over 100th in order to get himself through. Midas debuting with us. This is his first race in Division 2 for FTR, and he gets up to P6 on a 1:17.770. Not only that, but he did it on medium tyres. They've worked very well for him. Tremendous stuff for Midas. Looks like it's Shakes, Uzi, Nick, Pamper and Arno. And as things stand, I'm anticipating eliminations for Bertz, Stoffel and definitely Top Gun. But Bertz has managed to get himself out there and on a lap before the checkered flag fell. So Bertz, one more go at it perhaps. Across sector 2, he is 2.5 tenths to the good, but he needs more than that to get himself. He's got to double that advantage over his fastest lap in this short final sector that's only made up of 3 corners. So hoping for a strong track evolution from the last time he set a good time. It's a 17.9, he's done it into P10. He managed to get half a second over the final 2 sectors of the lap, and tremendous stuff from Bertz. Best time 1:17.973, and that's how you qualify for Q3. Chums Unfortunately will be shaking his head. He was heading for the weighbridge there momentarily, but shaking his head. Unfortunately, Chums, Stoffel and Chums teammate Top Gun, meaning that we will have no Aston Martins in the top 10 shootout here. The pole position shootout for Q3, which will be coming up for you very shortly. Shakes, Uzi, Nick Gish and Pampern, Arno, Jacques, It's Midas, Smirch Django, Avalak and Bertz will take the Q3, and we've got Chums, Stoffel and Top Gun, who we will see at the start of the race. Greetings to Shane Vandenberg, who's cheering on Midas as well. Good to hear from you. I'll be back shortly, but there are your standings for Q2. Back with Webo then for Q3. 12 minutes and 10 drivers will take to the track. Let's see what the guys can manage to do. Uzi's out there very early on as well. He's the first driver out on track, just heading up the hill towards the highest point of the circuit there at turn 4. And just catching up on the live chat there. So we've got Hamza says Uzi's been practicing really hard, which is great. Got Burn It Down saying that Shake's got a wheel only a month ago and he's already on the pace, which is very, very good indeed. I imagine that was a Christmas present. And we've got Rabico saying that Midas is worrying him with the mediums. Hanko here for Pampern as well. That just about catches us up. Uzi into turn 12 in the frankly beautiful looking McLaren in this Hungarian sunshine. Remember, of course, if we do get separated, if the stream does end, just to head back to the channel page and we will get the stream running back as soon as possible, if possible. And here comes Uzi then, heading down towards turn 1. He'll be disappointed to see a car just coming out of the pits in front of him, but hoping that that will get out of his way. Through turn 1 then, getting across the track to the right hand side for turn 2 very early is Uzi. He's looking for as smooth a run as possible through there, just part way across the track, and there very kindly is the Haas getting out of the way. Back up the hill then towards turn 4, tap on the brakes, one downshift, gather the car in time for turn 5, down to 4th gear for that one, running the curbs, attacking this one with confidence is Umer. He'll be hoping, of course, that that he can mount himself a shot at a win here this season after coming through with us in the previous season. He's bailed on this lap, unfortunately. It's not working for him, just running wide on the exit of turn 11, very easily done. Shakes risking grounding the car there across the lumpy, bumpy turn 8. So I'm not sure that this one is going to be as fast as he can possibly go. Had to delay his throttle application, change his line somewhat. That's what he's doing though. And Rabico cheering on Smirch Django. And he gets a 117.114, so into the low 117s. Of course, we have seen 116s on the board, and there goes Shakes. I think there's time still to find, but a 16.919 is his first flyer. Who else have we got? Is Nick Gishan actually attacking the track? Yes, he is. So he's usually pretty quick around most tracks here on the calendar. Runs wide though on the way through turn 4. Unfortunately, that didn't work for him. I wonder if Uzi has managed to keep the next lap alive. I think he might have, you know. Is that Avalak who has not managed to do the same? He's managed to validate that first lap. Because the pressure's on. You can get three attempts here, but not if you mess up one of those runs. It won't go particularly well for you. Uzi keeping the lap alive at least in this next attempt. I think this might be an in lap though, is it? No, he is progressing through. Waiting for the car to grip in. That was nice. A nice line, nicely paced through turn 14, and a 16.497 is a very, very nice one indeed for him. It's Midas is coming out. I got excited then for a moment that he was on mediums again, but he's clearly on soft tyres. Codemasters, come on. And here is Pampern. I know he's got fans among our audience tonight. And welcome to everyone joining us. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you've told us who you're here to support. And if you've got skin in the game, if you're one of the teammates across the division. Pampern out of the final corner in his first run here in Q3 goes P3, a 17.020. And left to set times, we've got Avalak Burtz, who's just coming through the final corner but heading into the pits, and Nick Gishan, who I mentioned earlier. He's got done with sector 1. Almost wipes out the marker board, the 100-meter marker board on the exit of turn 7 there. So wide was he on the approach through turn 8. The downshift just pulled the car into the apex of turn 11. Very tidily done indeed. Nick Gishan though missing the apex slightly for turn 12. And again just staying wary of the curbs through the on the inside curbs at least here on this particular lap. You don't want to use too much inside curve through the final corner because you might knock a corner off. And a 116.632 is a time he's set then. Second place provisional front row for Nick Gishan, but with just over 1/10 of a second to find to challenge for the pole on the car. Here is Midas then. He is coming across the first sector, 27.396 for him. We've got a lot of support coming in for various drivers. I'm glad that you're all getting very excited here through Q3. Definitely building up the tension here with 5 minutes to go before the checkered flag. I would imagine Midas going to go for 2 attempts here. Again, just feeling like just a little late on the throttle through 11 to really maximize the approach down to turn 12, but maybe it's a quicker line. Time will tell as he comes through. Will this be top 5 kind of position here for Midas? Finished top 6 and he's in 3rd place, 1:16.871, saving the best till the final session here for Midas. 1:16.871 puts him 3rd at the moment, just ahead of Shakes in 4th, who I'm sure is about to find some pace very shortly. He's just finishing off his outlap, I believe, so Shakes about to motor it down and really go for it here. He's got a beautifully clear track in front of him, just in-lap drivers on track right now. Here is Shakes into turn 1. There is Saltzmeister ready to race with us in a bit. Hopefully that doesn't cost me my connection. And into turn 2 then for Shakes. Nice smooth application. Turn 3 was dealt with as if it was nothing. There he goes. Over turn 4, that looked very quick indeed. Catching the car nicely on the exit. He's risking an inside wheel up onto the raised curve in turn 6. Feeling confident is Shakes. He did it off throttle, so it's less dangerous. That's how you pick up the throttle through turn 11. This one is 500ths faster so far than he's been before. Needs to find a decent chunk of time then to be near the front row of the grid. 3 minutes to go before the checkered flag will fall. Shakes to the line. He's deployed nearly everything he's got. He goes P3 at 16.754. Gets himself on the cleaner side of the track. But it is the outside entry into turn 1, so it's going to be a little bit less straightforward. Here is Smertz then, going quicker. It's currently P6, but it's tight in the midfield of the top 10. DRS open for Smertz. P2. How's about that for a final sector? P2 for Smertz in the Williams, a 16.591, just about a 10th slower there than Uzi, and Nick Gishen just on the on P3. That demotes Shakes down to P4, and we've got Avalak on track, and he has invalidated the next lap as well. Avalak, he's got just over about 60% ERS, it looks like, if I'm reading his display properly, so he's going to have to make the most out of this lap, although it will be 1 lap deep into his tyre allocation. Uzi, Smertz, Nick Gishen, your top 3 at the moment, with Shakes in 4th, Midas, Pampa and Jacques, Arno, Avalak and Burtz. The remainder of the top 10. There's not enough time, as Rabico says, to come into the pits, change round, do an outlap and get going before the checkered flag. So I think for Shakes that's about it in P4. He'll be a little bit disappointed, I think, after being a little bit quicker through Q1 and Q2. Looks like his rivals have saved the best till last and really leaning on the evolution of the track. Avalak has to balance risk versus reward on this one. He doesn't want to start P9, but also he needs to avoid invalidation. He flirts with it on the exit of 11 there. Into turn 12 we go. Should be good for a posted lap time at least. Uzi looking safe and clear away at the front here, a 16.497 his fastest time. I think he might have started his next one. Let's see Avalak then across the line. Can he get better than P9 at the moment? P9 to P7, a 17.0. Like I say, had to balance how much he was willing to push there. Uzi's going 4/10 faster through sector 2. Incredible stuff. This could see him in the 15s, even as the track continues to improve. Let's see what about Uzi. This could be a tremendous lap. Waiting for the throttle, waiting for the corner to open up to him. Nick Gishen claims pole at 1:16.169, but Uzi takes it back at 1:16.156. How about that from our two fastest drivers? Nick Gishen had pole for all of about 3 seconds. Tremendous stuff then. Uzi reclaims pole at 1:16.156. We've got Burts in P10. Let's see, wouldn't want to be one of the many Osman family who are here watching Uzi in that moment where he lost it and regained it. That's you need a strong heart for that one. There goes Burts, P8, gets himself off the back of the grid. He's got a 1:17.469. Nick Gishen, I don't think he or Uzi will go any quicker. Pampern might be on a lap here. He is 1/10 faster than he's been before. He managed to get out there in front of the checkered flag. Stamps on the throttle out of turn 7. Tremendous finish here to Q3. We should be on for a nice race. We've got 5 drivers within half a second. Sorry. Yes, 5 drivers within a second of the fastest time so far. Pampern P6, 1:17.0, needs to get himself into the 16s to clear that one. Oh, massive tank slapper on the way out of the final corner. That's going to hurt. Doesn't want to use those tyres for the next race, next session at all in the race. Burts is on his way in, I think. Arnaud, though, trying to get himself off P10. He goes P8 and deposes Jacques and Burts. Arnaud, well, 1:17.321. Very nicely done from the boys here in Division 2. But today's poll will be all about Uzi versus Nick, and it's Uzi at 1:16.156. Nick Gishen at 1:16.169. Tremendous finish there to the session. Smertz, very notable there in P3, debuting with us, and Shakes probably a little disappointed with his position at the moment, but I think he may well have some pace in the race to unlock and move forward. I'd love to hear your predictions from after qualifying for the race. I'd love to hear as well from Umair how close that came to the Premier Division pole as well. So there we have it, your final standings for the start of the race. We'll see Uzi on pole on a 1:16.155. 1300ths of a second away is Nick Gishen in P2. Smerch Django is 4/10 away, 16.5, and nearly 6/10 Shakes in 4th place. It's Midas will be starting 5th with Pampern 6th, Avalak 7th, Arnaud 8th, Burts and Jacques will take row 5, and we will have at least 3, possibly 4, even 5 drivers resume and rejoin us during the formation lap for the start of our race, and that will be momentarily. Let the drivers grab a drink and get themselves ready, get their strategies organised for the start of the race. Another reminder, I hate to keep doing it, but if we lose the stream, please go back to the channel homepage and I will endeavour to get us back live as quickly as possible. And nice to hear from Gerhard as well. Good to hear from you. That's good stuff. Got plenty of people tuned in and watching, so I'd love to hear your podium predictions before the end of the formation lap, and any insight any of you might have as to predicted strategies. That would be also very much appreciated. Give us some talking points. I'm on my own commentating as usual, so do shout up if you see something I'm not talking about on screen, and it will make for a better stream for everybody, as you can well imagine. So getting ready for the start of our race, the formation lap underway. And let's check out our tyres, the tyre allocation, a rainbow grid in terms of the tyre allocation. Choices being made here. Uzi will start the race on hard tyres from pole position, gambling here on being able to get away from the grid safely. But that is a really tricky thing to try and start this race out there on the hard tyres. Shakes and Nick on row 1 and 2 on the dirty side of the track, both on medium tyres. We'll be looking at those to move forward, but even more so for Pampern and Top Gun on the soft tyres. Pampern 6th, Top Gun 13th on the soft tyres. Salzmeister has joined us. Amir has joined us, but he's not in his favoured McLaren. He's actually in the Mercedes car. Wasn't able to pick the McLaren. Was just allocated that, I think, unfortunately. But all the same, he's a Division 3 driver, one of the Osmonds, of which we have many. Then we've got Top Gun in 13th, Stoffel in 12th, Chums 11th, Aston Martin not enjoying qualifying at all, but hoping to make recompense during the race. And here are some of our predictions coming in. Gerhard says Midas. Rabico says Uzi, Smertz, Shakes, and Burn It Down almost agreeing Uzi, Shakes, Smertz there. No one favouring Nick Gishen to bring this all the way to the checker flag. I wonder if he'll surprise anyone with that one. Avalak, fairly normal position for Avalak there. P7 start, usually between P4 and P7 is where he starts the race, but you can rely on Avalak to stay out of trouble for the most part, and make sure that he gets underway and moves forward through the race, which is where it matters, of course. I'm going to switch to position chain, but remember that Pampern and Top Gun are on the softs. Nick Gishen, Shakes on the mediums versus Uzi and Smertz on the hard tyres, and just the traditional disqualifications for not quite positioning the car correctly will be underway for you very soon. Last call for any... trying to get a good camera angle and I can't. The lights are ready to go. We're almost there. It's time to drop the clutch and start season 9 of Division 2. As away from the start goes Uzi on the hard tyres, manages to get a good enough start there, and so does Smertz on the hard tyres. Great track preparation for them, but it looks like it's Nick Gishen and Pampern battling down into turn 1. They've managed to get a decent grip on the inside there, and just about Uzi holding on the outside. The Williams and the Haas almost about to collide through turn 2. They may have been the slightest hint of contact between them. Pampern looking to pick up the pieces, but there's no way through at the moment. The track blocked by Smertz, and Nick Gishen. Pampern just on the outside of Smertz manages to thread his way around. Smertz deposed down 1 place to 4th. Pampern up 3 with his soft tyres. Nick Gishen hanging on just about to P2, and it got very tasty there in sector 1, starting to settle down, as there's only room for one car at a time through those difficult chicanes. And now into the S's, it's Uzi on the hard tyres. It's a great start for Pampern on P3. Look, I don't think he's going to be satisfied with 3 places gained. He needs to get himself right up at the front. Top Gun only made up, in fact he dropped down 1 place from the start. Chums was the big loser though overall, as was Shakes, down to 8, Chums down to 15th, and we have just finished our first lap here of 35 around the Hungaroring, and of course the fastest laps will be traded. It will be Uzi, as you would expect, away from the start, the closest one to the start line. Anybody looking at a snifter of a move, that was Shakes, possibly on Arno, but no way through at the moment. And the drivers all just starting to spread out slightly. Shakes still very, very much on the back of Arno, needing to get this race back under control for himself. That was a less than ideal start away on the medium tyres as well. Looks like Smertz, it's Midas and Uzi sitting very prettily here on the hard tyres. But Nick Gishen and Pampern are doing their best to keep Uzi honest at the front. Chums and Top Gun swapping places, hopefully fairly amicably at the back of the grid there. The Aston Martin qualifying nightmare has continued into the race so far. They'll be hoping for a better run there, of course. Uzi, Nick Gishin, Pampern, your top three, with Smerts dropping back to just outside a second. He's struggling on the hard tyres to get away here, to stay with, I should say, Nick Gishin and Pampern, who are hassling the back of our race leader Uzi at this early juncture. It is a difficult track to follow once you've got yourself into a rhythm post lap 2 or 3. So they need to strike while the iron's hot. They won't have DRS until the start of the next lap, of course. Uzi, another new fastest lap. There is the DRS enabled now, but of course they won't get to use it properly. Oh, that is Nick Gishin spun around, and perhaps everybody's predictions were true. No one fancying Nick to bring this home to the checker, but by lap 3 he's already had a little spin, recovered to P8. That's made the job slightly easier there for Anu Shakes, Jacques, and it's Midas. Takes the pressure off Pampern, which Uzi will not be pleased to see, but it looks like Pampern's had a problem as well. I wonder, did Pampern mess up turn 1 and that cost Nick Gishin? I didn't see it myself, but he's dropped 2.5 seconds off Uzi. It couldn't be a brighter race outlook for Uzi here. Hard tyres, and he's 2.8 seconds in the lead of this race. It's Uzi, Pampern, Smerts, Midas, Anu Shakes, Jack, Nick Gishin, Stoffel and Bert's your top 10. No significant damage, no one too far off the pace. The Aston Martins are struggling a little bit to keep up here, especially Top Gun on the soft tyres, but no visible or obvious damage needed. There is Uzi's next fastest lap. That's the first 3 laps. He's logged the fastest lap consecutively. Nobody else going any quicker at the moment, and that is very, very impressive on the hard tyres away from the start. Of course, now the gap opened up to 3 seconds as Avalak dropped down to 13th, has managed to recover a place against Amir, who, if his joining was trying to slip under the radar, dicing with the league owner and host would not be the way to do it. Anyway, I'm sure all is well. So a nice tight battle we've got here. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all in a train. A little gap then out to P7 even for Jacques, 2 seconds away. A gap at the front still opening up here. Uzi really enjoying that clear air. Just needs to make sure he's driving with a small margin. Although of course he can be abusing those hard tyres. They'll be up to temperature just about now. And Pampern on the soft tyres, obviously chewing through them fairly quickly. I do think, though, perhaps there was some issue there that affected both Pampern and our erstwhile second place runner Nick Gishin. Something that slowed them both down. But Nick down in P8, and it's not looking great for the Haas driver at this stage. There is your tight battle for second place, led by Pampern, Smerts, Midas, Anu Shakes, all following in close succession. No one quite ready to have a go yet. It will be Smerts with the impetus here, the first driver with DRS profit on the car in front. You get a second little burst of DRS down into turn 2, but it's still not enough to make the difference. Bertz is slipping down the order. He's had a problem through turn 1 there, causing a yellow flag and dropping down as he has to P13. That yellow flag hasn't lasted too long. It's Midas, the first penalised driver on the track, unfortunately. Umer said Nick's spin helped Uzi. Yeah, indeed. So it must have been. Well, it's just why did Pampern drop down as well? If Nick and Pampern didn't come together, why did Pampern lose 2.5 seconds to Uzi on the same lap that Nick lost all those places? That's the question for me. I don't know if anyone feels like rewinding the stream to see what happened, but any insight you can give would be more than welcome. Anyway, Uzi leads this race on lap 5 by 4.4 seconds and on a really handy strategy here. Nice and flexible strategy. Ume said Puna's softs are not going to last. Yeah, he does appear to be struggling here. Smerts then, let's see, can he get himself underneath? Well, certainly Pampern feeling vulnerable here. He's gone to the inside. There's not room to try and make a move there, and Smerts on the grippy side, on the outside, goes round Pampern, who did all the work of defending that one, but he just didn't have the confidence on the brakes or the grip in the tyres in the early stage of the corner to fight with Smerts, who's up into P2, and is that the first of many that are going to try and get past Pampern here? I don't know if the hard tyre window is open for Pampern, but otherwise this could be a two-stop strategy that he's looking at. We'll see when he's with his next choice of tyres, of course. We often see the mediums and hard drive starters pit around the same time, and you take a lot of pain coming onto cold hard tyres mid-race. But will Pampern's drop down from the top here have his problem? I wonder. Well, Pampern, a little bit of a move there, possibly from Arno having a look at Midas going into turn 12. That was mighty close, but they dealt with it okay. Pampern, slow at this stage. He's lost a second to Smertz, and it's Midas, the next one, lining up Pampern here. Let's see, will he get that DRS? He's got the DRS profit. Pampern has no longer got the DRS. Should be fairly straightforward here. Goes to the outside top. It's Midas. And that was easier for him that time. He didn't have to lean on the brakes too hard to get through. He'll get a second load of DRS down into turn 2 just to help him that little bit more pull away, and there he is into P3, doing very nicely indeed. So Etienne says go Chumps. Well, I don't know if that's a slight on Chum's name or just a slight on everybody here, but I'm assuming a typo, cheering on Chums. Nice to have you with us, Etienne. Perhaps you'd like to clarify whether you meant Chumps or Chums. Race control gives Armia a 3-second time penalty. Unfortunately, he's the second driver to be penalised by that degree. It's Midas racing with that 3-second penalty, so Pampern not too far away from him still, but struggling, and there he goes. That was that the AlphaTauri of Shakes getting a bit wide there on the medium tyres. Pampern has slipped another second to the driver in front after being overtaken. I wonder, is it time to pit now? He's losing time, and there he goes into the pits. Clearly, as clear as day, that was a signal for him that it's time to pit. That means that it's Midas should get the DRS there after running behind. Sorry, Arno should get DRS, and he did after running behind the Ferrari. And Shakes is promoted to P5, and as we heard there, he is trying to still trying to get used to a wheel that he only received last month, or started racing with at least. So doing very well, P5, but I think he's probably hungry for more. Sergeant Panda, very prominent racer of seasons past with us in Division 2, and the Spanian. All cheering on Stoffel. So Stoffel needs your boost. He's down in 11th at the moment, unfortunately for him, but in the Red Bull he's actually come closer to his teammate, but not by a great deal of virtue on his own part. It's more that Avalac has been having his own problems. So at the towards the end of lap 8, it is Uzi in the lead by 4 seconds still. Then comes Smertz in the Williams from It's Midas, very, very close at the front, 0.3 of a second. All three drivers on the hard tyres. Goes to show that that was absolutely the correct choice. Arno, Shakes, Nick Gish and Jacques, Salzmeister, Avalac and Armia, all in the top 10 at this point. Chums picks up one as well. And Etienne saying he is cheering on Chums, and he was hoping to race, but there we go. It's load shedding again. Eskom, I believe, is the power provider for South Africa. Is that right? But I'm assuming you're referring to load shedding and power outages. I think we're going to have to start getting used to those here in the UK as well, as we progress through this winter period. It's Midas then, under 2/10 temporarily there on the way up the hill. It's not much room to get in. And alongside a driver after turn 4 and the start of turn 5. Wonderful camera angle going through the piff-paff chicane of turn 6 and 7. Uzi still at the head of this race, and round goes It's Midas, and round goes Arno in a sympathy spin. That was, if that was a drift championship and pairs racing, that would have been extra points for matched runs. But unfortunately, It's Midas on the hard tyres as well, slipping back. So both It's Midas and Arno struggling on their tyres, even though they're different sets. Well, that releases Smertz and Shakes a little bit. Shakes into P3. So consistency starting to pay off for the drivers as trouble, problems, and perhaps incorrect tyre call from Pampern, just letting the drivers down and they're slipping back down the order. But consistency will deliver points come the end of this race. Here we have the battle of fourth. It's Nick Gishen versus Jacques Slater behind him. Forgive me, it's Nick Gishen chasing Shakes. This is the battle for third. I was looking at the wrong icon there. As they're coming up to lap, I believe that must be Top Gun already, who started on the soft tyres and is still running them. He's very slow and struggling. If you know that Pampern has already changed his soft tyres, Top Gun, well, he's waiting for a better chance to change tyres, but he has slipped down a lap to the top 1, 2, 3 and soon to be 4 drivers. Shakes a 3-second time penalty, steps outside as perhaps just distracted by the ghost of the lap car. Top Gun not really getting out of the other driver's way, and we do ask drivers to do that. Even though the cars will ghost, it is better because they will still pick up disrupted front wing air turbulence, and they will also be distracted visually by that. Royal Vikings joined the session. I think he's just going to spectate for us because I don't think he's going to be able to get into a car. Shakes then P3. Uzi's still out there in the lead now by nearly 5 seconds now, and it looks like Shakes struggling on the brakes relative to Nick Gishen, who is fighting back here up to P4 again after having his issues. So Etienne's saying must be AI driving, because that's his car. Okay, well that makes sense. That makes sense. Absolutely. That must be that you've been disconnected due to power. Arno dropping back then, P9. What was that? I think that was just, yeah, it must have been an off-track excursion between turns 3 and 4 there as he gets back under racing speed. You can see on the track map this pairing very close to one another, as is Avalak, and it's Midas, who has slipped backwards, but he's still on the hard tyres. Nick Gishen equalises things between himself and Shakes, so they're both on 3-second penalties, if I have remembered that correctly. Yes, everyone on a 3-second penalty at the moment, so that means it's an easier thing to call for us watching along. And lap 12, we're actually not far away, are we, from the halfway point. Lap 17 will be the halfway point, which will be roughly where, wow, down into the inside edge of turn 1, tries Nick Gishen on Shakes. He'll get a second attempt here with the DRS. Has Shakes managed to outfox him, moving around there, possibly his line on the braking point into turn 2. I don't know if Nick will consider that fair game or a little bit of dodgy driving, but Shakes holds on at the moment to P3. Looked like a long way back lunge coming from Nick Gishen there for P3. I forget what I was even trying to say then. Yes, so the pit stop window will be opening for the medium runners to switch to the hards around now, and then you would imagine that the medium tyres will run to around up to around half distance with the hard tyres, hard starters able to go a little bit deeper if they so wish. So, but I would imagine that by lap 24, 25, all of the first choice strategies will be, pit stops will have been made, and we'll be able to analyse who's moved forward and backward more accurately, whose strategy is working best for them. Well, Nick Gishen has dropped back slightly after that attempt on the previous lap. I think that might be slightly outside of the opportunity to have a go here into the corner. I think they might be bringing themselves towards Smertz here. Shakes and Nick. Oh, Nick getting a little bit out of shape there, just crossing the dirty air of the car in front, coming through turn 1. Possibly an indication the medium's starting to run. There's a little bit of a markup, oscillation mark